I'm late. What is up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? My name is Jade, and just let me deal with my mic levels there. And I'm joined today by my good mate Simon Anderson. Good evening, Simon. How are you?
Good afternoon and evening, Jade and Hannah. I'm doing well, thank you. As you pointed out before we went live, I've lost the facial hair supporting the Movember movement. It's been years since I've been this baby faced. So it's a bit of a shock, like you said. It's good to be here. Good to
I'm
be
trying to
lightweight.
remember. I'm trying to remember what my reaction was. Was it something like, "What the hell is that?"
Who's that man on Simon's computer? I think you said.
Oh, amazing. And Hannah, my good friend and lovely assistant, how are you?
Good, thanks. I'm good.
Just good?
Yeah, no, I'm fabulous, thanks.
Short and sweet. Good, thanks.
I'm fabulous. No, I've been busy. No, it's really, I just can't believe what's happening around the world right now.
Erica Perry in the chat. Looking good,
Hi.
Simon. I vote for keeping it that way. My goodness me, already got some fans out there, Simon. I mean, you look 10 years younger. I don't know if that's a good thing or what, but it's an amazing look and likely to be very distracting this evening. But before we talk more about Simon's facial hair, who wants to hear the question of the week?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, so I actually saved this over from last week. I wasn't available due to personal commitments, so thank you, Simon, for giving me that time off. But without further ado, the question of the week is it better to be happy or aware of a painful truth? Is it better to be happy or aware of a painful truth? And Hannah, you've had a preview on this, so I'll let Simon smoke on it for a second. What would you? Is it better to be happy or aware of a painful truth? Come on, you've had time with this. You still don't know your answer?
No, because I forgot all about this one. I was not thinking that this was the question of the week.
Okay, should I go to Simon?
Yeah.
Simon.
I feel like this potentially could have been influenced by some of our previous podcast discussions. This question about painful truths. I had no time to deliberate on this one. It was a pretty quick yes.
Deliberate?
No. I'm saying
discussing. Yeah.
No, that's what I meant. Like I didn't need the time. This was straight away. I know my answer, and that's good. It's always the painful truth. There is no amount of happiness that is worth the ignorance that is the cause of that happiness. You should always seek to be as close to reality as possible, because that my belief and perspective on knowledge is that if you are not living the closest to truth, you're in fairyland. Regardless of how harsh, nasty, and unfair reality may be, the truth is always where you should endeavor to live. I don't know how to.
Let me take it to a fantastical place, but it still has relevance in the conversation. If we got word tomorrow that this was a simulation and the universe needed to reboot and we'd seek to not exist, you would want to know something like that?
Yep. Yeah, of course. That'd be a pretty cool fact. I mean, to be aware before, because obviously after the simulation resets, you then become unaware that we're in a simulation because you don't exist. So it would be very cool. It'd be a big privilege to have confirmation. I mean, I'm saying this now pre-knowledge. I don't know
Yeah.
how I would react after the fact. I'd be quite shocked. I don't know what I would spend my final moments doing.
Oh, I do. Robbing banks and other
Well,
stuff potentially.
what's
If
what's
it
the
was
point
a
of robbing a
simulation,
bank?
let's get that clear. I want everybody at home to know I don't wish to rob a bank, but if I knew this was all fake, I'd go out there and like reenact GTA, no worries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you straight to the strip clubs, eh? Just like in GTA.
Oh, I don't know, maybe afterwards to help me relax. But Hannah, you've had a moment now.
Well, I actually had my answer, and basically it was exactly what Simon said. I think it's better to know it's painful truth because the painful and awkward truth could always be painful for a second, but it also could bring a lot of happiness overall. So we don't want to be ignorant in life. You want to know the truth, and you want to be able to grow, develop and innovate in life. So better know the painful truth, and from that happiness will stem or not.
So for me, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say that there are already people that dabble with the ignorance of many types of facts. Actually, like it was what brought this question about for me, Simon, is what you said about the elections 2 weeks ago. I think it was when we were on the podcast. You said that some people don't care at all. That's why they don't engage in politics. And often people will vote blindly just because of what their parents do or what their friends say or what's generally popular at the time. So,
What political party paid to put some ads on their social media, which they managed to see? That's probably what most people ended up voting on.
that's exactly it. So I think often people do opt just to be happy and content. They don't really seek out the painful truth that even the most popular leaders on the planet, of which New Zealand would have one, that when you go deeper, it's not all gravy. Is that still something the kids say? It's definitely something I say. It's not all gravy, man.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the other thing is, in terms of being happy and ignorant, it got me thinking about suicide, and I don't know if I'm going to get banned for talking about this. Actually, I should have read the terms, but I think people, and what got me thinking about this was the referendum on end of life choice. For those people, in my view, nobody knows what's on the other side of life. But some people take the assumption that what's on the other side is better than life. I think that's pretty ignorant. How I choose to live my life is betting both ways. Living life now, while at the same time earning my place in whatever is over there. I don't get religious, like it's not a secular thing for me. It's just about being a good person, so one day I might be deserving to climb the stairs. It'd be pretty cool because I can't climb stairs now, so to be able to in that moment, what would be really nice.
There's a question of the week for next time. Is heaven accessible?
Short answer, yes, because if astro travel is anything to go by, anybody can maneuver within that infinite space, I think. But a topic for another day. So, on my plate for today, Simon, I want to be talking about the fact that we apparently have the gayest parliament in the world.
Oh, wow.
We broke a record. The gayest parliament in the world. What have you got for us today, Hannah?
I want to talk a wee bit about the current US elections that are going on right now.
And Simon, we didn't have a lot of time to chat before the stream, but what are you thinking about for today?
Did we get a chance to go over that article I sent you?
No, we did not.
No.
The memory
okay,
one? You want the memory one? Yeah.
If we have time, that shit is fascinating.
I'm wondering if we lead with that, because I don't know how interesting the New Zealand politics is, and you seem to be well read on the stuff, whereas the cabinet decision was only a few days ago, so...
Oh, well, I haven't looked at the article for a while, but...
Okay, well...
Did you want me to lead?
You can.
Yeah. So... You made a comment just before, Simon, that currently Trump is losing, but the one fact with USA is that in the previous terms, the opposition won 5 million votes above the current president, and did not make
Hillary
did not make it to be president. So we could
the whole electoral college thing just blows my mind. I don't really understand how it works.
So how it works is that via states, you've got to win to be president. You've got to win 270
electoral votes,
and then if so.
But your electoral representatives only get to enter their votes if they win. How does it work?
If they win,
like you have to win the whole state.
You have to win the whole state. So what I'm trying to say, so what I'm saying is they've got to win the whole state, and we may not find out. We could possibly find out by the end of the night if we have a new president, or it could take weeks and weeks. So the other way is that
all I know is that if Joe Biden wins Florida, we're done. Apparently there's something about Florida that tips it for Biden. If he doesn't win Florida, we're going to be waiting weeks to get down to the detail on the decision.
Because this year's been the largest year that people have chosen to mail in votes. 83 million.
That is a factor too. Did you say 83 million?
83 million. So that means that could hold it up by weeks. But then, yes, the next thing is, depending on who votes what, it then goes, certain states will more likely push the president forward, and other states it will a split vote. So it is a bit of game like Skittles I was reading up. So people have tried many times to actually change the US election system, voting systems,
yeah,
but it's not, nothing's been done about it. So
what we can draw, what I understand, is that the people don't actually elect the president. But in a sense they do, because as long as their state wins the majority vote, they get all the electoral votes.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's kind of weird. Simon, have you got any views?
Yeah, so I saw somebody comment on social media that the point of the electoral college is so that states with low population densities actually have a voice that is similar to states that are full of people. So a state that may have a low population full of farmers, they vote all in favor of red or blue, then they get a similar number of votes to a heavily populated state.
So that is what they call a split state. So I'm thinking, where are they?
Because we've got less people in the waiting they hold, or
Less people in the waiting they hold. So if it's clear that the president, they haven't got the votes for who's going to be president, then they go and say, right, the top 5 states are, where do they divide up? And then they look at the split states. Well, what are they? And kind of look at them in that sense. So that's an interesting way of looking at it. But my political views are, one, they did wrong by going forward with Biden after.
It shouldn't have been Biden. I watched all the primaries, and it shouldn't have been Biden. I think Kamala could have stood on her own. She's stepping in as the running mate, and I reckon if Biden wins it, which he may do, I'm holding an open mind about that.
Yeah.
You know that she's going to be interim president for like 2 years. Homeboy's going to die next year.
They might even assassinate. I heard, was it Alex Jones, the famous InfoWars reporter? He was pondering about that they might assassinate him, make him a martyr.
Yeah, and then the black woman steps up out of the ashes. Nice story for the country, but for me, it's always been Trump. I think he's a weird guy. Like I'll never hide from that fact, but he's actually been really good for America's overall image. He's brought jobs back to America, lowest black unemployment, lowest Hispanic unemployment, most women in the White House. I don't know if they call it cabinet there, but most female White House officials ever in any presidency. I think he's done some really good deals with the Middle East. He hasn't once gone to war. The Ukraine thing was a smear because it was really Biden at the bottom of it. For me, it's not about getting into Trump's past. Let's face it, he's banged hookers, he's done all sorts of weird shit, he's gone to Pedophile Island. Like, I'll call out all the facts, like, those are facts.
But those are common facts across both sides. Like, that stuff he talked about, but Joe Biden and everybody in the Democratic Party do the same things.
So I wish Donald Trump all the best. New Zealand really failed and gave themselves a socialist majority, and they're not going to have to answer to anybody, and we're not going to have an accountable parliament at all. So I wish America all the best. Anything you want to add, Hannah?
You wish.
I wish America all the best.
No, I thought you said you wished Trump failed and.
No, I wish America all the best because
we
failed.
Because we failed, yeah.
And got a socialist majority.
Yes.
And I feel really bad for this country, but it's done with now. Interesting thing about the before I move on to having the gayest parliament ever. Interesting how the referendum seemed to have played out, Simon. I know we're still waiting on absentee votes, but it looks like end of life choice is a thing, and it looks like cannabis control is not. Do you have any views?
Yeah, I heard, was it my brother said, yes to croak, no to toke. Yeah, it's a bloody shame. I voted the opposite, personally. Yes to the weed referendum, no
Sure.
to the end of life choice bill.
Thank you for sharing, because it's a personal decision, so yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that's right. I can always back up my reasoning. So happy to share my the way I voted. It's very clear that the media-dominated voices are the ways that the referendums ended up. You know, we had a lot of publicity about the compassion and the empathy behind the end of life choice bill, and then there was a whole lot of fear mongering and just absolutely false and false at the worst end of it, and misleading at the conservative side of it, of information regarding the cannabis referendum, like the Say Nope to Dope campaign and the just emotive
They had some big
fear-mongering
names
ads.
in that, though, you have to say.
Really? I mean, see, the thing is I don't watch TV, I don't consume standard media, so I missed a lot of it, but I only saw it when people in my circles complain about it, you know what I mean? But I did not see any famous people come out against weed. Or are you talking about the
I
end of
know
life
a couple
festival?
of Auckland councillors came out, and Efeso Collins is one that comes to mind for me. I was like, oh really, bro? You're like the Tongan guy, and yeah, and you're saying nope to dope? Efeso Collins, amazing.
Never
Sorry,
heard
you
of
were
him.
saying?
No, yeah. It looks like there's a possibility that drug reform will just continue on anyway. I know the Greens would have made that part of their discussions if they put into their partnership agreement or whatever it's called. We've seen news articles come out already about the appetite for drug testing because it's coming up on festival season, which I think is just a necessity, right? The people are always going to do drugs. And the fact is that 90-something% of people do drugs without ever having needing hospital treatment or an adverse reaction. But the percentage of people who take a substance thinking it's something else, and then it ends up being rat poison or some harsher chemical at a higher concentration or something like that, if they'd had their stuff tested for free before they'd taken it, potentially they wouldn't have taken it at all.
Good point.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Legalize all drugs.
I had the same view as you in terms of, like, I've heard the research around the amazing things that marijuana does, and like Hannah, I think you mentioned on the podcast that you were actually part of a trial.
I don't know if I mentioned it, but yes, I was part of it.
Yeah, you did. I wouldn't have said it otherwise.
Yeah, no, I was.
It was an atopic trial, but it was actually blind, eh? So
Yeah.
you didn't actually know if you had the marijuana super drug or whatever. You
I'm
didn't
pretty
actually
sure
know.
I didn't, but yeah. Yeah.
So it would have been cool. Yeah, I support any research into medication that improves lives. Like, if scientists figured out that COVID-19 actually had, like, amazingly healing properties on the opposite end that we never picked up on, you know, I'd like research to happen around that. I don't think we should discount any chemical compound for just being bad. I think we should always continue to learn and evolve our thinking around certain drugs and what they can do for us.
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing that I always forgot to make in the discussions I had with people leading up to it is that the drug was legal like up until the 50s or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it was only very recently that it became illegal, and it was a purely racist reasoning. It was Nixon wanted to put hippies and black people in jail, and that was so that the hippies stopped complaining about the war that they were about to go into, and so they needed black people to be in their for-profit prisons because they'd just ended slavery.
Yeah, that's a lot. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that version.
It's true though. It's a well-established fact that Richard Nixon, and there's somebody who was close, like one of his advisors, was caught, like recorded on tape, saying that that was the reason that they made cannabis illegal, is that it was something that the hippies and the black American community used, and they wanted them both in prison.
What worries me about any drugs, I mean, cigarettes fall into this as well, is people that are too young having access to it. Like, I know that you're extremely well read on issues like this, so you would know that if you're too young, marijuana can actually severely damage your brain. You agree with that, don't you?
I definitely do agree with that.
So on that, I think it's really important to, like, if we were gonna have controls around it, that those were laid out clearly, and that we were strongly discouraging people that were too young, just being rebellious for no reason. Once you get to graduation age, you can do what you want to do. That's how New Zealand deals with most issues.
Yeah. If you look at human culture, when you're a rebellious kid, what is the one thing you try to do to piss off your parents? You do stuff that they tell you not to do. You don't go and follow in your parents' footsteps. Like, if your parents are legally allowed to go down to the store, purchase my marijuana cigarette because all you kids are stressing me out. Like, when you want to be a rebellious kid, you're not then going to go and purchase the same substance.
Yeah.
I don't know. Where does smoking fall into that then? Because I would have thought smoking would have died like ages ago, but
they made vaping a thing.
Particularly women, I've noticed a big uptick in women being smokers. Have you noticed that? That's just a sense that I have around that.
Well, okay, so nicotine, right, is one of the most addictive chemicals in the world that we know of. That's why it differs substantially from cannabis. But also, the fun fact about women and smoking cigarettes is Edward Bernays, the inventor of propaganda, the nephew of Sigmund Freud, who was pretty much the inventor of psychology.
The man.
So what Bernays did is became a marketer, and the cigarette companies paid him, and what he did to because smoking was this thing that men did. It was like a manly smoking thing. And so what they did is he staged a woman pride parade and got models to be photographed smoking cigarettes, and he made cigarettes like a woman empowerment thing. It was like because feminism was on the rise, and so
I got that from Mad Men. Mad Men kind of featured some of that stuff around women. It was a very sexual elite thing for women to be smoking, but why now? Like, we know the facts, and women are just like, this is only my opinion. I haven't done research prior to the stream, but I walk around and it is women. Dudes, of course there are some dudes doing it, but everywhere I go it's women, and I can't figure out why I'm seeing it like that.
I don't know. I mean, we see it in all of our pop culture, like, because they can't advertise it. It's just in every movie, TV show, music video. Those aren't really a thing anymore. But I guess maybe that's women buy into that a little bit more, or they're more heavily into like entertainment, so they
Yeah.
see more role models smoking.
Hannah, why are you smoking? I don't mean you personally. I wouldn't let you do that around me, so I don't know how you would survive as a smoker, actually.
So I don't smoke, and I disagree with smoking. Yeah. Why do people do it?
Women. I said women.
Why do women do it? But I think it's a wider issue of women see it that it's a way to relax. They see
Really?
that men are doing it, so why can't I? That feminist bullshit. Well, why can't I?
Yeah.
And then it's addictive.
Well, we're gonna have to watch the space, Simon. I think in terms of the cannabis control, because I was really keen to see us transforming that space a bit. I know you partake in stuff like that. I'm not really addressing that. Like, sure, it'd be great to decriminalize and have people like getting into products that are potentially safer. I see it on stream. I was pretty keen to see what an edible was like, because I've heard amazing things, but yeah, I was just keen to see a more positive culture around marijuana. Like you said, we need to legalize all drugs actually, and I think the amount that we spend criminalizing people around this is ridiculous. Like, I think we have common ground in that view.
Yeah, I mean, as there is the recreational psychoactive side of it, where if you're looking for a safe way to step out of reality for a while, cannabis is a great choice. But our body has these receptors made to receive these chemicals, and I think there is a lot of nutritional benefit that we haven't discovered because it's illegal. I think there is a million other ways that we can ingest this stuff that isn't inhaling it through combustion.
Yeah.
And like the high concentration stuff that stops severe seizures in seconds. That's pretty cool with the medicinal side of thing. But I think there's ways that we could be a healthier population in general. I drink hemp milk with my coffee. It's the right step in the right direction. And there's probably
hemp doesn't
a million
have
other ways.
hallucinogenic effects or euphoric effects like that, right?
No, it's purely full of CBD. There might be like 0.001% THC, but nothing anywhere near that's enough level to have a psychoactive effect.
That's awesome. So where do you even get hemp milk from? I've never even heard of that.
From your local supermarket.
Really?
Yeah, no, I've never heard of it.
You're gonna have to look that up for me, Hannah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the shelves near the Long Life and the other plant-based milks.
So
Yeah.
instead of my almond milk, let's
Get
have a
hemp.
crack at the hemp.
Yeah. But that's exactly right. What you just said, Simon. I'm all for the fact of stopping seizures in minutes. I'm needing that badly. But
You had one before the stream, lol.
I know I did, and I feel like utter shit now. Just to be fair, excuse my language.
Perhaps that was why you were struggling to answer the question straight away. You're feeling a little bit foggy, maybe.
Yeah, and why I was yawning before. And
Yeah, you can't yawn, we're live. People are like literally looking at us right now.
And on the other side of, the referendum that did pass, all that media coverage that went out about compassion, there wasn't enough media that went out about the actual bill and actually what the implications meant
They made it an emotional issue rather than a factual one.
Yeah.
Because there's not... Now, I looked into this by having conversations, but also reading about it. There's not a lot of safeguards. Like, there's unanimous consensus, even from people that support it, that say, yeah, there's not a lot of safeguards, but also they don't have safeguards when you decide to stop eating altogether. So everybody agrees that there's no safeguards, both sides. It's actually kind of amazing. So Simon, one day I'm going to go into a hospital with a broken arm because I'm going to try and learn how to sit down ski, I think they call it. So I'm going to break my arm, I'm going to go to hospital, and then I'm going to come out in a casket.
Is your condition terminal?
No.
Terminal broken? No.
That was a joke, but I think I think there is a slippery slope there still. Hey?
Yes, definitely.
We
That's a nice pun on the old put down ski joke.
We actually do know somebody who actually was a part of the initial consultation, who actually said, many times she would have said to her, next of kin, yes, that's what I want to do, and that's what I want to do moving forward, but she definitely does not want that. She would definitely not want it, and she just at that point in time she said it. So that's the difficulty. It's too quick, too soon.
I mean, even myself being fully abled and very, very fortunate in terms of my upbringing and where I find myself now, fuck, in a bad day, I still would, I would consider it if it was an option. I watched this video and this guy was talking about the difference between wanting to die and planning to die, and he was saying if there was a light switch, just there, and all the bullshit in your life just went off, sure, you'd think about like flicking the switch. It's or it's just a switch, boom, gone, all your problems disappear. It's an enticing thought. Like me myself, I've had moments where I've considered it, but it's just moments. It passes. You put in effort to heal yourself, whether it's mentally or physically or whatever it is, wherever the benefit can be made. If it's through talking to people, you feel better. Potentially, if you got a terminal illness and you're in some serious pain, the period between feeling like you want to end your life in wellness might be longer, but still there. And those moments of weakness. Well, I don't want to say it's weakness because I don't want to make it seem like people who choose that option.
Moments of compromise.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Compromise. Your thinking and your emotions have compromised your thinking. You shouldn't be able to make irreversible decisions in that period.
You shouldn't be able to wake up one morning, like, have a bad day, walk down the road to your GP, get a couple pills, and just get it done. Like, yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. And I know a lot of people say, well, it's only for terminal people or people who are suffering. Like, there's wording in there that I need to look into a bit more, but a doctor can determine if somebody is suffering. 2 doctors. Let me be factual.
So basically, if you're able to prove to your doctors that you're mentally unstable, also.
1, you're allowed to know. 1 has to be independent. So I guess that's what they call the failsafe.
You're mentally unstable, though. Like, you're pointing out that you just can't do life. Well, I think that can almost be a bit of somebody can almost put that on in a way.
Oh, there's plenty of people who've ended up in crisis management for attempts on their own life, look like they've completely cured themselves. Fresh as daisies, oh yeah, I'm on top of the world. They leave, a few hours later they've found themselves, they're taking their life. People can put on a facade for anything.
Yeah.
Make it through a doctor's appointment. Yeah, no, I'm totally sound. This pain is killing me. I've got a terminal diagnosis. Doc, it's time to go.
So you said no. I think you said no on this one.
I did. If you're asking me, yep.
Yeah. So I did as well. Yeah.
I said no.
Yeah.
And I am actually going to say I have
You're
to apologise to everybody. And I'm going to leave you, gentlemen, to have a lovely podcast.
That's okay. We're just going to talk about gay politicians now.
And Simon's good topic.
And he's got an amazing topic about memory and how it's embedded in the cells.
And I'm sorry that I'm going to miss that, but I don't think we need to feature me having any seizures on stream, so.
It would help the ratings.
No. Have a good stream, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, have a good one. But yeah, I voted no just because I don't want to enable the loss of a life that was unnecessary. It was it was at that level for me. I didn't want it on my conscience that somebody could die that didn't actually want it.
Yeah.
So that's me on that one.
I mean, between the two of us, we've had a lot of conversations with some people who have spent a lot more time looking at the bill and understand the real implications of the health sector in New Zealand.
We had Huhana right here on the show.
Exactly, like the diverse range of outcomes based on where you live, the color of your skin, and your gender, that kind of stuff. You don't get the same service across the country. So why introduce a bill which creates circumstances where even if you are in the ideal person, you could still end up taking your life too soon. So I can imagine whether you might be disabled or come from poor socioeconomic conditions, your experience going to the doctor for that and going down the path of ending your life, you would end up with a result that isn't ideal, and you'd be far better off staying in this realm.
Thanks, Simon. So, moving right along, as I tend to do, I always reference the articles, or hopefully I do. Let me know if I failed to reference anything that I've presented on the show. I know we have lots of conversations where it's a bit loose. But here is my reference for the article that I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to move over to my screen. And I'd just like to talk about the fact that New Zealand has the most rainbow parliament on the planet. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to pull out a few key facts. So, overall rainbow representation in New Zealand will be 10%. Based on the election results, 12 openly lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and queer members will sit as part of the 120 members in Parliament, and we do have some names, not so relevant, but just to point out, there were some surprises in there for me. Well, one surprise in particular, Chloe Swarbrick.
Yeah, man, she's bisexual, isn't she?
I did not realize that, and I feel bad for the guy because he's got competition like that. But
No, I think she has a female partner at the moment.
I understood she had a boyfriend. But I'm just kidding around.
Oh, okay.
Actually, you know, the question that I had for you, Simon. So that's that's what I wanted to speak on there. Just like, oh, I didn't even put it up on screen. Sorry, everybody. So there it is there. So I don't know. Why I wanted to bring this up was, do we actually care how gay people are? This is not me being like homophobic. It's a different question. Like, do I actually care if politicians are gay? Like, does that hold weighting in my support of them, or do I more value their character, who they are as people, their qualifications? You know, they might have science qualifications or human science qualifications. Would I rather rate those, or am I like, yeah, you're gay, so you should be in Parliament? You realize how this is not homophobic? Like, it's a genuine question.
Yeah. No, I don't think. Okay, I certainly hope not, and I hope that people aren't voting for the gayest candidate on their voting paper. It's an added bonus, right? The lived experience trumps all allyship in most cases, right? So there are areas of policy making and law making and being in Parliament where the lens of a gay man, woman, trans person would be helpful. And so I guess it's a benefit that Parliament is a closer representation of our society than if it were full of straight people. I'll always vote on what you call, skill is what the symbol I want to use, but you know, qualification and merit. Identity is never the first.
Merit is a good one, because it's not always about have you been to uni, because I don't really hold weight on that.
So merit is the word I wanted, but identity is a second or third sort of class, I guess, weighted factor in who I'd vote for.
So do you think that it's probably not a great question to ask you, more a statement I should make. I probably wouldn't vote for someone just because they're disabled.
No, and neither would I.
You know what I mean? It's like, it'd be cool. We obviously need to address that diversity issue because no one else has. But I'm not going to vote for you just because you're disabled. You can bet your ass on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, because then it becomes lip service and it's just you become a token if you're not there because of your skills. On a side note, reading reading that article, I do enjoy examining language, and you know, when they're talking about the rainbow community being LGBTQ, like the L and G, aren't they the same thing? Like a gay woman is still, like, you know, they're gay. Do they have to be lesbian?
Lesbian.
Is lesbian different than gay? Because there's technically somebody who's gay who's attracted to the same sex.
Isn't that the same as saying as male the same as female? Have they just branded themselves differently?
Yeah, I think they've branded themselves differently. But why would you need to, right?
I'm happy to say that I'm definitely a lesbian. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah.
definitely down for that. Like, yeah.
And then
I take it you're
is
a lesbian as well, right?
yeah. Well, here's a question: is bisexual an offensive term to those people who don't fit male or woman or men as a gender type? If you found someone said that they are bisexual, that person is erasing your assigned gender. Well, not assigned gender, but prescribed gender.
It would be weird to call them bisexual because I think there's actually another term for them. I was going to say asexual, but it's not that. That's people.
No, there's pansexual, which is regardless of gender, sex, or whatever is included in the conversation. You just are attracted to people. That's pansexual. But bisexual is an accepted term with somebody who's attracted to males and females. But the term bi is, binary, bi, one or the other. As if your mate's a bisexual, then you, as somebody who doesn't prescribe to men or to man and woman, that person is erasing you. I wonder how they get around that. I wonder how they've had that conversation in the rainbow community.
Well, that's how we have 20 million genders, isn't it? Because
then what's the queer? What's different between gay and queer and lesbian?
yeah, well, I think we're we're the most unqualified people, Simon. So
That's why it's great content.
So let's just call this out for anybody that's going to write a complaint to well, you can't actually complain to anyone except for Twitch, I suppose. Anyone that writes a complaint to Twitch about we're so unqualified to talk about this, I think queer refers to anyone that experiences sexuality differently. So I'm aware of people. I was watching this documentary, I think it was on the History Channel, where you can become sexually attracted, like deeply sexually attracted to inanimate objects. Like this guy had an intimate relationship with this car, but not just any car. It was like this one particular car, and he was like crying because he was like straight up admitting that he was sexually attracted, but he just couldn't help it. He was letting rip his nut all over the car, and that gave him fulfillment in life.
Couldn't be me, but good on him.
No, it's definitely not my cup of tea, but I think queer just refers to experiencing sexuality differently. Not
But,
something.
yeah. To round it all the way back to where we started, representation across, a full section of society is always a good thing. If you all think and act the same, then you're gonna get the same results. It should never be. It should never be the deciding factor of where you put your vote, as if that person fits your identity.
So, okay, for you though, do you care if anybody in Parliament is gay, or do you just care that they're doing their job?
Well, I care that they're gay, and that I care that they're women, and that I care that they're of different race, and that I care that they're of different ages, and I care that there are a varying cross section of society. I just don't want everybody to look and act and think the same. That's
Cool. Yep.
So I don't. Yeah. If that makes sense. If that answers your question.
It does.
Like,
It does.
Yeah.
And
I don't specifically care about people being gay, but I just care that it looks like us.
And for me, just to round this off, I don't care at all if somebody is gay or any other version of rainbow. I know I've used that as a universal term tonight. But if you're rainbow, like, I don't see why the media should draw our attention to what you do in the privacy of your home, because you're obviously not doing it in public. It's not part of your it's not part of your professional persona to be doing anything about your gayness or your rainbow life in public. So no, I don't care. Like, I care that you have your rights observed in your private life, and you have the right to feel safe, free speech. You, after work, you want to run around, do whatever you want to do. That I fully support that. But
So is it? I'm
Sorry,
seeing
go.
what your point. No, it's right, and I don't want to like put words into your mouth, but are you like living in the future? Because I, in a way, am living in the future in regards to disability, and I know you are too. In that I want to get past the stage of, working towards inclusion, and I just want them to be treated as normal citizens. Like, I don't want these little mini milestones to be celebrated. I'm already mentally at the point where we're fully integrated in things that's sweet. So is that where you are in regards to rainbow community, and that you're like, yes, sweet, it's all good. You're just an average
Yeah.
bloke or man already. Yeah. So
That's where people often take me wrong, and why I get called a bigot in certain meetings, because people take me wrong. But I love that you know what I'm on about.
Yeah, so the reason the media are bringing it up is because we haven't had the point, right? We're on a journey. Us as people, we're already there. We've reached a destination. We get it. We're sweet. We're like, sweet, let's just get on with it. We're all humans. It doesn't fucking matter who you spend your night in bed with. But for the rest of the society, it's a journey. And people, we've gone from everybody in positions of power looking relatively the same. Like, you agree that the history of politics and business started out with most white, straight men.
Pale male sale.
Yeah. So we're on this journey. We're on this journey, and the media are doing their best to normalize it. But there are some of them that take it too far, I guess, in making it all about identity. I would love for us to flick a switch.
Are you saying that to me, Simon? That's amazing. Yeah, I love that.
I'm saying that there's in
I love
the media, people take it too far in terms of making it about their identity. But we can't just flick a switch and for everybody's vices and personal interests and things to just be universally accepted.
So just checking. So for a little while longer, we have to pander to people's unawareness, or
I guess so, man. I just gotta put up with it.
I love it. You're probably right. You're probably right for the fact that the spaces we work in, like, I'm probably having a bad effect on you, because I've always lived 5 years in the future, and I know that you've been doing a lot more to understand where things are, so you're probably there as well. Mm-hmm. So yep, you're probably right.
Yeah, I mean, I was a pretty intolerant dude through my early years in like school, and then I just had a bit of like an epiphany and realized that it was all pointless. And then I get to this point where it's like, yeah, sweet, doesn't matter. We're all just humans at the end of the day. But for the most part, there are institutions, there are people in power that don't think like me. So every little win to dismantle that historic viewpoint needs to be celebrated.
I'm straight. I'm a libertarian conservative, and I'm black. and people don't know how to read that sometimes. But you know, I just want to put on the record that I've got many friends from many backgrounds, including rainbow community, LGBTQ plus, or gay, as some people call it. You know, I got friends in all those spaces. They understand that I'm straight. They understand that I have particular values for my own life, but they also appreciate that I'm never gonna impact them. I'm never gonna be that person to chase them down and persecute them. You know, as long as it doesn't affect me, I really believe in freedom in the truest sense of the word. Do what you like, as long as you're not impacting on me.
Yeah, that's one of my foundation principles, is that an individual should have as complete individual freedom as possible without harming anybody else.
Yep. And with that, I'm mindful of time, Simon, so do you want to take us in the memory discussion, and did you want me to be showing anything on screen?
I mean, you could just drop the
Cool, I'll grab it.
article in the chat, and then, I mean, I've got it up on my computer.
You start talking about it, and then I'll make sure it's in the chat.
All right, so I'll sum up where it came from. So I was browsing Twitter, and Joe Rogan retweeted this article talking about memory, and what's the headline? Memories can be injected and survive amputation and metamorphosis. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. I got to read that. I can't just spout that headline off without understanding it a little bit better. And then, so I started reading the article, and the study was based on these very primary life forms called planaria. They're fresh water flatworm. And the reason they are so widely studied and favored is that they have a true synaptic type of nerve system. So that's similar to the way humans are built, right? We have these synapses that allow electrical currents to flow through them to just facilitate movement and everything that our body does. And the other thing is that they have, what the article says, enormous powers of regeneration. And then the quote from the article is, under the best conditions, one may cut the worm into as many as 50 pieces, with each section regenerating into an intact, fully functioning organism. Right, so this thing isn't just like a single-celled organism where any part of it is exactly the same. This thing has a head, brain, mouth, tail, whatnot. You can cut it into 50 different pieces, and it will all grow back into its own distinct worm. And what's really fascinating is that they found out with studying is that the memories of that original worm survive any sort of dissecting, right? So you cut off the tiniest little bit of the tail, it grows into a whole new worm with a brand new brain that's been alive for I don't know how long it takes them to regenerate, but you know.
So I've got an example on the screen at the top of the article. It's got like a snapshot of what one of these worms looks like. How were they able to ascertain that the memory exists?
So what they do is they call it here train the worms a la Pavlov, right? So if you're familiar with the Pavlov's dog experiment, what he would do is he would ring a bell and then feed his dog. Then after a while, he could just ring the bell and his dog would start salivating. So what it is you create an external condition, and then you have an external condition, and it triggers a response within an organism, and then you remove the thing that causes a response, and you just have the trigger. So what Pavlov did is he removed the food that causes salivation in the dog, and just ringing the bell, the dog's brain subconsciously goes, "It's dinner time. I'm about to get fed. Let's go. I'm stoked." With the worms, what they did is they would what was it? They touched it, and then they associated the touch with an electric shock. So what would happen is that this worm would know, okay, I've been touched with this object, I'm about to get shocked, and it would like constrict and try and protect itself from this impending shock. And then what they would do is they cut the worm off, right? So they cut it in half. So one had a brain, one was the tail. The tail grew a brain, brand new. They then put the object onto the worm with about to shock it, and it would go through the same physical response that the original worm did. It had no brain. Like, you think about that. Just that, but there is a piece of information. It didn't have a brain. It grew a brand new brain, and it knew that getting touched by this object would soon be followed by an electric shock. Like, every human on Earth basically just thinks that our memories are somewhere in our brain. Like, this worm goes against that theory. Not every human, but most average humans just assume that somewhere in our head is all our memories that we can just call on when we need to.
Yeah, but if you cut off your arm, you're not going to grow another Simon.
No, that will be different.
Your Simon, another Simon isn't going to grow out of your arm, though. I mean, that would be fucking epic if that's what happened every time we cut something off. Could you imagine how much more efficient labor force would be?
Oh yeah, WorkSafe wouldn't be a thing, right? It'd be like a celebration. We've had another work accident. Yeah.
New workers.
Yeah. But if you keep going down the article, you have to have it up on screen now. I've got it in front of me. I'll just keep talking to it. What they started doing is they would pull out RNA from the was it ribonucleic something? Can't remember what the A stands for. A ribonucleic acid or something, I think it is.
Yeah.
They would pull that out of one of the flatworms and inject it into a fresh worm, not like one that's been split off, like a completely distinct worm. They'd inject the DNA into it
and reprogram it.
Yeah, it would automatically.
Fuck off! Seriously?
Yeah. And then, what's the other thing? He could do it by cannibalistic ingestion. He could blend up trained worms and feed them to the untrained pairs, and it would work as well. So they'd just blend up the worm into mush, and then give it to the worms that hadn't been trained about the electric shock.
Oh yeah, I'm there where you are. Yeah, I know where you are now. So what scientific application does this have for us?
At the very bottom.
What are we learning?
Yeah, at the very bottom. So they talk about the memories being stored in synapses and things like that, in our cells, and he makes the analogy of a piano player without hands, and that you stitch a pair of hands onto the piano player and he can play. So it was they made the study, they with these flatworms, they destroyed the synapses, which would cause the physical reaction for the worm to constrict. They destroyed its ability to do that, and then so it basically forgot its training, and then they fixed it somehow so that it could have the possibility of responding in that way. And then they put the shock through it, and then it was like all of a sudden it remembered its training again. Like it went from being a worm that had no idea to a worm that fully understood that being touched meant an electric shock. And so they're saying it's like really important in the subject of Alzheimer's, in that the way it deteriorates the brain tissue.
But wouldn't we be injecting somebody else's memories?
No. So it's like it's your own body. So it's like it's about fixing the damage with your own genetic material.
Oh wow!
I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, it talks about makes a reference to it being sort of like the movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Have you seen that movie?
No, can't say I have. Sorry.
It's Jim Carrey. It's a pretty famous movie, but basically it's him and his partner decide to erase the memories of each other because it was a really excruciating breakup or something like that. But they had these dormant memories that start to come back to them. It's pretty cool, but the article makes mention that it's similar to that. We'll see if I can find it quickly. But yeah, they talked about the same study was done with butterflies. See, I knew that before I found this article, but it was really cool to see it mentioned here. So they did the same thing, right? They shocked caterpillars, and you know, what they did is they exposed them to this chemical called, what was it, ethyl acetate, and then what they did is they shocked them. So as soon as they smelt this chemical, they would shock them, and then they made sure these caterpillars would respond negatively with just the smell. Right? They Pavloved them with this chemical. So they didn't need to shock them. They just put the chemical in the air around them, and they would respond badly. And then they'd put them through their metamorphosis of going into a cocoon. And they've proven it through studies that caterpillars turn into a soup. Like, they do not hold any of their structure from caterpillar to butterfly.
Wow.
They turn into mush, and then they'd get these butterflies, and they would expose them to the same chemical, and they would still have the same adverse reaction. So it was like it was, what are they called? A subset of caterpillar neurons that persist called mushroom bodies, a pair of structures involved in olfaction that many insects have located near their antenna.
Is this the same article? I don't remember reading this.
It's right at the bottom. Yeah, he said it's soup, but it's chunky. So caterpillars turn into chunky soup.
Ah, yeah, I'm right there. Isn't the universe like amazing? Like, do you ever get uncomfortable about how little we know, of the universe? Do you even get uncomfortable with that?
No, I think it's amazing. I mean, okay, yeah, I have moments of uncomfortableness, but it's overwhelmingly positive in that I think that the more we unravel what is known in the universe is pretty cool. But so there's a sentence right at the very end. It says, not only do these scientists believe their experiments harbor hopeful news for Alzheimer's patients, it also might be possible to repair deteriorated neurons that could, at least theoretically, find their way back to lost memories, perhaps with the guidance of appropriate RNA.
I see another application.
And what's that?
End up in a car accident, get smashed up, generate new body, inject new memories. Your old memories, sorry.
Yeah, I guess it is leading into the world of digitized consciousness and stuff like that. You know, download your brain input it onto a computer chip, live forever.
Would it really be you though if you know that you died and then there's this guy playing you out there in the world?
That's another massive conversation to have for another time in terms of the ethics of AI consciousness and living forever. But
We
yeah,
don't
I-
have
I
time
would-
for that tonight.
No, but I wouldn't. Quite bluntly, I would not. This person dies when this body dies.
Yeah. I'm pretty
When they-
old school like that. I don't know if I'd want to be downloaded and left on Pirate Bay for someone to revive me.
Mm. I mean, there was. It's pretty sick. What happened is one of the I think we talked about it on a previous podcast. One of the kids from the Sandy Hook massacre, they used video footage and audio footage of him as a kid, and recreated a AI version of him and made him recorded a video for the Black Lives Matter movement. They're saying like, it's been however many years since the incident and nothing's changed. Like this, it was a video, and this kid's parents authorized this thing to be made. If that's what they're doing now, imagine what they could do if they had your
Oh, did you say he was a
Your
Sandy Hook
consciousness.
victim?
yeah,
Jeez.
like a dead kid they brought back to or they reanimated to make a Black Lives Matter video. I
Yeah.
actually
You've got
I
to send me
retweet-
that link.
I retweeted it if you wanted to find it.
I will do. Anyway, Simon, I'm mindful of your time. You've got other places to be tonight. Just to round up nicely, just want to thank everybody for watching this podcast, Simon. I don't know if this will creep you out or make you feel happy, but I've had reports while I've been traveling the country that people are really enjoying the podcast, even though they don't necessarily like to be in chat. So
Oh, that's awesome.
that's something to go off. So thank you for everybody that is watching this live or after the fact. Appreciate Simon always coming with the intellectual gold. Because I'm black, so someone has to. We won't be here next week because we have other things to do. But love doing this project with you, Simon, and I look forward to seeing where it goes. Any final thoughts from you, mate?
Yeah, I really appreciate the flexibility
Yeah.
of this project. There's no theme, there's no strict format. We just bring stuff we want to talk about and just go for it and see what happens. So I think it allows a lot of freedom, and freedom of expression is something that is quite quickly becoming a bit of a commodity.
I think this project has helped me in particular because I used to think I had to deliver a certain thing or deliver a certain package of ideas to make good content. But what I realize more and more is the real major key, as DJ Khaled would say, is authenticity. And
Be yourself.
Be yourself,
Be
yeah.
yourself.
Stop playing yourself. And, you know, when I look at other influencers around the internet, all of them more successful than us, but they are lacking authenticity. And I think there will come a time where podcasts like this will really win out. Like, if I'm honest, not to name drop, but I think that's part of why Joe Rogan is so successful, because he is authentic. His conversations aren't pre-recorded, they're not scripted. I hardly ever see him with a bit of paper. I think I've seen him with a bit of paper like twice. But he's really just having conversations, and that's what we like to do. So thank you, Simon. This is a major project. Thank you very much. We will be back in 2 weeks' time. We will be back with some random facts, some current events, and as always, the question of the week. But for now, guys, thank you for being a part of the channel. Thank you for being a part of the journey. Please stay awesome, and we'll see you.
And we'll see you in the next one.
Got it. Thanks, Simon. See you guys later.